Hello, my name is Sandra Feist, and I am the current House Representative in District 39B, which includes the southern part of New Brighton, most of Columbia Heights, and all of St. Anthony. I was first elected in 2020, and it has been the honor of a lifetime to serve in the Minnesota House of Representatives these past 2 terms. I'm an immigration attorney, a mom, and a small business owner. I founded my law firm in 2010 and now employ a team of 12. In the legislature, I applied my skill set as an attorney to my work, developing and negotiating legislation to support students, enhance public safety, and protect our natural resources. I also have found my mom skills highly useful as I work to remain patient, empathetic, and level-headed amidst the often intense and chaotic atmosphere at the Capitol. In my first 2 terms, I have focused extensively on young people through my work to support our schools and also to address public safety challenges relating to disruptive youth. Last term, I chief authored legislation to ensure that no student would miss school due to period poverty by funding and requiring that all schools provide free menstrual products to students. This was a particularly gratifying bill because the advocacy effort and the momentum behind the bill was student-led. In addition, I worked across the aisle on legislation that took a step towards addressing the significant impact of cell phones in schools on student behavior, mental health, and academic attainment. As Vice Chair of the Public Safety, Finance, and Policy Committee, I have advanced legislation to expand youth programming and restorative interventions for struggling youth. I championed legislation that created a well-funded Office of Restorative Practices that will collect data, provide resources and technical assistance, and will administer ongoing grants to fund programs that help young people understand the impact of their behavior on their community and reduce recidivism and deeper system involvement. This effort stemmed from my first-term success in passing the Veterans Restorative Justice Act, and I look forward to continuing to work in this space to identify more effective and just systems of accountability in Minnesota. I have also worked hard to advocate for our natural resources, partnering with organizations like the Campaign to Save the Boundary Waters and the Friends of the Boundary Waters to chief author legislation that protects the boundary waters and all of Minnesota's supply of clean water. I secured funding for the first phase of a 50-year Clean Water Action Plan, and I look forward to continuing progress on this effort next term. We must protect our environment and address climate change with future generations of Minnesotans in mind. Now is the time for the legislature to think ambitiously around climate action. I also took up leadership as the DFL House co-lead of the Civility Caucus, a bipartisan, bicameral group of legislators that create opportunities to socialize and develop meaningful relationships across party lines. This is so critical to our work, as no one party has all the answers to any issue. I found these efforts gratifying and valuable, in particular in my work to address tax forfeiture reform, address the impact of technology on children, advance privacy protections for Minnesotans, and to protect vulnerable seniors. Many of the bills I chief authored benefited from broad input from my peers on both sides of the political divide. It is my sincere hope that we can continue the work of the Civility Caucus in the coming term and beyond. I am running for re-election because I have more work to do on behalf of my community and all Minnesotans. I am already working on specific bills to update our education funding formula to more effectively and strategically support students, create additional protocols to ensure that our immigrant and refugee neighbors are able to contribute and thrive in our communities, and to prioritize protecting our natural resources and address climate change. I would be honored to earn your support in November.
Hello, I'm Katie Jacobs, your candidate for House District 39B, representing New Brighton, Columbia Heights, and St. Anthony. I am a 31-year homeowner in the district and your common sense candidate. Let's begin with a look at education, health, and child care. Minnesota schools went from 6th to near mid-pack. Even with the increased Democratic funding, the power for decisions has been removed from local educators. There are currently 65 mandates on schools, leaving them without the flexibility to use funding where it is needed most. Proficiency scores are down, reading is 16% lower, math 17%, and science 23%. Attendance is only 69%, and graduation rates stagnant at 83%. The ever-increasing need for ESL classes pays its funding 1 year in arrears. And remember, schools are not allowed to operate in the red. Democrats have passed more legislation placing burdens on hospitals' operating costs, forcing us to pay more annually to maintain our health care. Insurance companies not only determine premium costs, they also determine what we pay the doctors. The most medically vulnerable are those in the sunset populations, the oldest in our communities, and they're being left behind. Democrats insist on increasing unnecessary regulations, making child care another category that is micromanaged. This has closed more than 1,000 providers in Minnesota in recent years, making it more expensive and less accessible, with fewer options available to working parents. When we think about public safety, the Democratic majority continues to choose criminals over law enforcement as they move toward shorter, lighter sentences in courts, early releases, probation versus incarceration, sentence reduction post-conviction, expunging criminal records, and funding cuts to police departments and incarceration facilities. Democrats also want citizen oversight councils with broad disciplinary and subpoena powers. We know fiscal responsibility and taxes are at the top of the list. Democrats do not appear serious about controlling fraud. Report after report details failures by multiple agencies. Disciplinary action is needed to address those responsible for fiscal oversight, as well as those abusing taxpayer funding. Minnesota has one of the country's highest income tax rates and the highest corporate tax rate at 9.8%, making it less desirable for big business. Democrats continue to focus on the middle class, but not in a positive way. Their tax cutting has left us with higher taxes, smaller paychecks, and struggling to make ends meet. Some of the current tax cuts include expanding the child tax credit while limiting qualifying earnings, enacting retail delivery fees, and expanding Social Security deductions, but keeping us one of only 12 states in the nation that tax Social Security income. They redefined ETABs, affecting funding for nonprofits and many organizations supporting local sports. And don't forget they promised us a $2,000 refund from the $18 billion surplus, but only delivered an average of $260. They spent the surplus balance and increased taxes by another $10 million. Of the approximately 312 bills authored in the current term, 80 were authored by our current representative, and half of those created or increased funding. She votes a strict party line, ignoring what is best for her district. Two-year projections indicate another $10 billion increase that is 5 times higher than the tax cuts recently passed. Free is the operative word for Democrat leadership. Free meals for all students, free menstrual products for 4th through 12th grades, and free menstrual products for college students too. And there is serious talk about benefits for the undocumented immigrants crossing our borders. This doesn't sound like common sense leadership. Our current representative has done much for many, but what has she done to improve the fiscal stability and quality of life for her district? Do her personal agendas reflect yours? These are just a few issues that need a second look in the coming sessions. I want to be there to unpack the damage done by party politics and personal agendas. When we work together, together we win. Let's make district first, state second. For more information, go to my website, ktforhouse.com. That's FORhouse.com. Thank you for listening.